police searching for a gunman after a man was shot to death. Just before 11:30 last night, ShotSpotter detected multiple rounds fired in the area of Greymont Avenue West. Police found a man shot inside a car parked in a home's driveway. He was later pronounced dead. No one is in custody. If you have any information, please contact authorities.
It's a quiet Thursday night in Birmingham, Alabama, October 9th, 2025. Most people are winding down, getting ready for bed. But on the 1100 block of Greymont Avenue West, the silence is about to be shattered. Gunshots rip through the air. When the smoke clears, a car sits in a driveway riddled with bullet holes. Inside, a young man slumped over the wheel. Unresponsive. Gone. His name? Xavier Brandon Clark. But to the streets and the music world, he was Paperchaser Zay, a 28-year-old rapper with dreams, a family, and a future that just got cut short. Within minutes, police arrive. The scene is chaos. 2 cars are being towed away. A crowd of family and friends gathers, crying, shouting, demanding answers. But there are no answers, no suspects, no arrests. Just another life lost in a city that's seen too much blood. Here's the thing. Xavier wasn't just some random victim. Less than 48 hours before his murder, he dropped a music video. In it, he shouted out people with serious enemies, people connected to murders, drug deals, and a street war that's been tearing Birmingham apart since 2022. Some say he was just supporting his friends. Others say he painted a target on his own back. So what really happened? Was this a planned hit, retaliation for something he did, or was it simply because of who he stood next to in a music video? Before we get into it, like and subscribe. I want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed violence like this in your city? What state or country are you watching from? Drop a comment below and let me know. Because this story isn't just about one man, it's about a cycle of violence that keeps claiming lives and a community asking, when will it end? Stick around, you're going to want to hear how this all went down. Xavier was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, a city known for its rich music history, but also its struggles with violence and poverty. Growing up here meant you had to be tough, but it also meant you had dreams. For Xavier, music was that dream. The people who knew him best say he had responsibilities, a family that depended on him, loved ones who saw him as more than just the guy in the music videos. He had kids to provide for, a wife to come home to. That's the side of Xavier most people didn't see. But in the streets and online, he went by a different name. Paperchaser Zay. The name said it all. He was chasing money, chasing success, chasing a way out of the struggle. Rap was his hustle, his voice, his way of telling the world what life was really like in Birmingham. He rapped about the pain, the danger, the reality of growing up where he did, and people respected him for keeping it real. But here's the problem with keeping it real in a world like that. The lines between music and real life get blurred. The people you rap about, the people you shout out, the neighborhoods you rep, they all come with consequences. And for Xavier, those consequences were about to catch up with him. So how did a young father and rising rapper end up dead in his own driveway? To understand that, we need to go back to where it all started. To understand Xavier's death, you need to understand what's been happening in Birmingham since 2022. It all started in April 2022 with the murder of a 19-year-old named Devon Marcel Hickley, better known as TSMG Triggerman. He was affiliated with a street gang called H2K, Hard to Kill. One night on the 800 block of 3rd Avenue West, multiple shooters opened fire on him.
Now, we do know that at least one person was killed. The person was taken to a local hospital in a private vehicle and was pronounced dead at that local hospital. Now, detectives had been on the scene all morning. This happened around 2:30 a.m. and detectives have still been on the scene since around that time. You could actually see still some of the actual bullet holes that are in the side of the Advanced Auto Parts here. So this was a wide area where this where this incident occurred.
Davin's murder didn't just end there. Rumors spread that someone tried to retaliate at his funeral. Police had to increase patrols at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church in Brighton because they heard an attack was being planned. Brighton Police Chief Larry Woods even tried to stop a driver in a silver BMW who showed up with a handgun in his lap. The driver took off before he could be detained. TSMG, Devon's crew, took another hit when D'Angelo Thomas Jr., known as D, was killed. He was found on the 700 block of 6th Avenue West in Greymont. At this point it was clear TSMG had a target on their back, but nobody knew who was behind it until the rappers started talking. In September 2022, two rappers from a group called 40 Thirst dropped a track called Smacking and Spinning. Their names were 40 Thirst AJ and White Boy Spin. In the song, White Boy Spin openly bragged about killing TSMG Triggerman. He rapped about shooting him in the head and neck, even mentioned taking the cross tattoo off his face. It wasn't just a diss track, it was a confession set to music. The song blew up, people were shocked, some fans loved it because it felt real, but it also put everyone in that video at risk, and it got the attention of the police. Just a month later, 41st AJ was dead. On August 13, 2022, gunfire erupted at a Shield gas station on Messer Airport Highway, a spot where 41st was known to hang out. He became Birmingham's 91st homicide victim that year. But the violence didn't stop there. White Boy Spin was allegedly connected to even more murders, including the deaths of two innocent women, Markesia Atkins and Shweta Willis. These weren't gang members, they were mothers. They were just out having a good time on Labor Day weekend at a nightclub on 5th Avenue North when gunfire broke out.
Officers are working to find out the people who fired shots outside UAB's ER earlier this morning after two women were killed and 3 people were injured at a separate shooting.
That first shooting happened on 5th Avenue North around 2:30 this morning, and police say both incidents, they are connected. Our Bria Chapman joining us live with the latest. And Bria, we're looking at video right now on our screen of that officer's car during the second shooting. The suspects also shot up a UAB police cruiser parked outside of the ER.
Police called it unheard of. Birmingham's police chief said in a statement, 2 families were destroyed and 3 other victims will have to live with the scars of this violence for the rest of their lives. On December 2, 2023, White Boy Spin was gunned down in a red Honda Accord. Over 30 shots were fired at his side of the car. Some people believed the guy he was riding with set him up, though he denied it on Facebook. Either way, White Boy Spin was gone. His passenger, BJ McNeil, was killed months later. Former ATF agent and police chief David Hick explained that gangs in Birmingham have become more fluid, less structured, harder to track. He said most of the violence is over ridiculously silly things, but the consequences are deadly. Music and social media were fueling the fire. Death tracks turned into death sentences, shoutouts became threats, and anyone connected, even loosely, became a target. This was the world Xavier Clark was living in, and he was about to step right into the middle of it. Xavier Clark wasn't directly involved in all the violence we just talked about, but in the streets, it doesn't matter if you pulled the trigger or not. What matters is who you stand next to. And Xavier was standing next to some dangerous people. One of those people was a guy named Pete. Pete was well known in Birmingham, not for good reasons. He was connected to multiple murders and had serious enemies. When White Boy Spin was killed, Petey was one of the people defending him online, speaking up for him even though rumors were swirling that White Boy Spin was responsible for killing those 2 innocent mothers. Petey didn't just talk, He was allegedly involved in violent crimes himself. In October 2024, he was arrested for murder. Police said he was responsible for a homicide on 83rd Street South, a killing that happened less than 24 hours after the mass shooting at 5 Points South. That mass shooting? It was linked to another man Patey was close with, Damian McDaniel. Damian McDaniel wasn't just any criminal. According to Birmingham police, he was responsible for 14 bodies in 12 months.
Morgan, that we're now getting some charges revealed on multiple different homicides that happened here in the Magic City over the last few months. In particular, the mass shooting that occurred near or around the Hush Lounge in 5 Points South. We now know the man police believe to at least be one of the trigger pullers that was there that day. The identity of that man is Damian McDaniel. He's now facing 6 capital murder charges for that shooting and several others. He's also facing 17 counts of attempted murder.
This was a man who left a trail of destruction everywhere he went. And Xavier, he was arrested right alongside them. In October 2024, Xavier Brandon Clark was one of 4 people arrested on serious charges connected to murder and drug trafficking. He was locked up with Petey and others tied to this violent crew. For a while, people didn't even know Xavier was out of jail. He kept a low profile, but then in early October 2025, he resurfaced. He dropped a music video for a song called Jeezy Flow. In the video, Xavier repped the West Side, the same neighborhood connected to Damian McDaniel and all the violence we've been talking about. But more than that, he shouted out Petey. He said, "Free Petey," showing loyalty to a man who had enemies all over the city. Some people say Xavier was just being loyal to his friends. In street culture, loyalty is everything. You don't turn your back on your people, even when things get dangerous. But loyalty comes with a price. There's a saying that came up in the background of this case. Sometimes you ain't got to be the one to pull the trigger. But if you're affiliated, according to their enemies, you're just as guilty. That's exactly what happened to Xavier. For 48 hours, the video circulated. People watched it, people shared it, and somewhere, someone was paying very close attention. Less than 2 days after dropping that video, Xavier Brandon Clark would be dead. So here's the question. What do you think really happened here? Was Xavier targeted because of his music? Because of his affiliations? Or was there something else going on that we don't know about? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think. Because what happened next would change everything. October 9th, 2025, Thursday night. Just after 11:30 p.m. Xavier Brandon Clark pulled into the driveway of his home on the 1100 block of Greymont Avenue West. It had been a long day, but he was finally home. The street was quiet. Most of the neighbors were already inside, winding down for the night. Everything seemed normal. But normal doesn't last long in Birmingham. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. Gunfire. Not just a few shots. Double digits. The sound of bullets tearing through metal, glass shattering, the rapid pop, pop, pop echoing through the neighborhood. It happened fast, too fast for anyone to react. Xavier didn't stand a chance. When the shooting stopped, his car sat in the driveway, riddled with bullet holes. Inside, Xavier was slumped over, unresponsive, blood, broken glass, the smell of gunpowder hanging in the air. He was gone. Birmingham police didn't get a 911 call right away. Instead, the city's ShotSpotter system, a gunfire detection technology, picked up the shots and alerted officers automatically. Within minutes, police were on the scene. When they arrived, they found Xavier inside his vehicle. Birmingham Fire and Rescue was called immediately, but there was nothing they could do. At 12:25 a.m., Xavier Brandon Clark was pronounced dead at the scene. Officer Truman Fitzgerald spoke to the media shortly after. He confirmed that multiple shots had been fired. Double digits, but wouldn't say exactly how many. He also said it wasn't immediately clear if Xavier had been targeted or if this was random violence. But given everything we know, it's hard to believe this was random. 2 cars were towed from the scene, a white car and a black car. It's unclear which one Xavier was sitting in when he was shot, but investigators took both for evidence. The entire area was taped off as detectives combed through the scene looking for shell casings, witnesses, anything that could lead them to the shooter. But there were no arrests, no suspects in custody, just questions. Within an hour, word spread. Family members started showing up, friends, people from the neighborhood. A large crowd gathered outside Xavier's home. Some were in disbelief, others were angry. Everyone was heartbroken. This wasn't just another statistic. This was someone's son, someone's husband, someone's father, someone's friend. Xavier's wife had just married him. His kids were waiting for him to come home. His mother had already lost so much, and now she had lost her son, too. The community was devastated. Birmingham had already seen 63 homicides that year. Xavier became number 64. In all of Jefferson County, there had been 96 homicides in 2025. The violence wasn't slowing down, it was getting worse. Police said the shooting happened in a populated area, meaning there were likely witnesses. They urged anyone with information or surveillance footage to come forward. They asked people to call Crime Stoppers or Birmingham police. But so far, no one has been arrested. Officer Fitzgerald made it clear they needed the community's help. Someone saw something, someone knows something. But in Birmingham, talking to the police can be dangerous. Snitching can get you killed. So people stay quiet, even when they know who did it. And that's the tragedy. Xavier's family deserves justice. His kids deserve to know who took their father away. But in a city where fear and loyalty run deep, justice doesn't always come easy. As the sun came up on October 10th, Xavier's car was gone. The crime scene tape was taken down. Life in Birmingham moved on. But for Xavier's family, nothing would ever be the same. The days after Xavier's murder were filled with pain and anger. His family was shattered. His wife had just married him and now she was planning a funeral. His children lost their father, a man who was trying to build a better life for them. His mother lost her son. The grief was unbearable. On social media, tributes poured in. Friends posted photos and videos of Xavier, remembering the good times, the laughs, the music. People who knew him said he was more than what the streets made him out to be. He was a real person with real dreams, someone who mattered. But alongside the tributes came frustration. People were tired. Tired of the violence. Tired of losing young men to bullets and beef. Tired of watching families destroyed while the shooters walked free. Community leaders and activists called for change. They asked for more resources, more intervention programs, more support for young people caught up in street life. But words don't stop bullets. And in Birmingham, the cycle just kept repeating. Some people blamed the rappers for glorifying violence. Others blamed the police for not doing enough. Some blamed the streets, the poverty, the lack of opportunities. But the truth is, it's all connected. And until something changes, really changes, more mothers will bury their sons, more children will grow up without fathers, more families will be left asking why. Xavier's story isn't unique. It's happening all over the country. But that doesn't make it any less tragic. His family is still waiting for justice, the investigation is still open, but as of now, no one has been arrested. And the question remains, why does this keep happening? Xavier's story is a warning. It shows us what can happen when music, loyalty, and street politics mix in the worst way possible. First, affiliation is dangerous. You don't have to pull the trigger to become a target. Just standing next to the wrong person, shouting them out in a song, or repping the same neighborhood can put your life at risk. In the eyes of enemies, you're guilty by association. Second, music and social media are making things worse. Diss tracks used to be just words. Now they're confessions. Rappers brag about murders, call out rivals, and turn beef into content. But every post, every video, every lyric can escalate the violence. What starts as a song can end in a funeral. Third, law enforcement has a role to play, but it's complicated. Police need to build trust with the community, not just make arrests. People won't talk if they don't feel safe, and without witnesses, killers walk free. Fourth, personal responsibility matters. As one person said in the background of this case, you don't gotta prove nothing to nobody. Sometimes, protecting your peace means moving away from what you used to feel normal, including the people that's in it. Choosing safety over loyalty can save your life. Finally, families need support. After tragedies like this, they're left with grief, trauma, and no answers. They need help healing and fighting for justice. Xavier's death didn't have to happen, but it did, and unless things change, it will keep happening. So here's my question for you. If you could change one thing to prevent tragedies like this, what would it be? Let's talk solutions in the comments. Xavier Brandon Clark was 28 years old when he died. He was a father, a husband, a son, and a rapper with dreams of making it out. But less than 48 hours after dropping a music video, he was gunned down in his own driveway. Double-digit shots. No arrests. No justice, yet. And somewhere in Birmingham, someone knows who pulled that trigger. The question is, will they speak up? This story matters. Xavier's life mattered. And if we don't learn from it, we're just going to keep repeating the same tragedy over and over again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you believe in breaking the cycle. Your voice matters. Let's make sure stories like Xavier's aren't forgotten. Thanks for watching.